Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are back on the quantum computing chart. It is time for another update. And we start here on the large time frame to provide the context of what we are overall tracking. And we would have an initial wave 1 to the upside we could consider. Now, given this is only a 3-wave pattern, we do need to be prepared that this could also work out as a larger ABC structure. But in either scenario, I would be tracking the same levels of support, I would be tracking the same interpretations within the smaller time frame. So we are looking for this to potentially be a wave 1, we would have here a wave 2 correction, and now we would like to see a wave 3 unfold, taking us to significantly higher prices. Within this wave 3, we would like to see an ABC structure. In the case of such an interpretation, we have a few options at this point, and firstly, we can consider the wave A to still be ongoing within what we are tracking here in the area of an impulse. So we would have here something like a 1, 2, and then this would be our wave 3 to the upside still unfolding. And within this wave 3, we would currently be within the wave 5 to the upside, where this would be a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, a wave 4, and this would be the first wave, supposedly, of this as a larger wave 5. We have another option. We can also track this as a larger ABC structure, in which case we could be building the wave 3 in a much more direct way. But in both scenarios, we are tracking within a smaller time frame a setup. Yeah, we have a 1-2 structure in this area. We have an initial 5-wave move to the upside. We have the area of support down to $6.4. And against this support zone, we are looking for a wave 3 to be forming within the area of an impulse. So far, we have pushed perfectly into the 78.6% retracement, and so far, we didn't get a sustained break. The structure is within a 3-wave pattern, but at this point, we do not have any strong signal that a bottom would indeed be in place, and we need to be prepared for the possibility of extensions. This doesn't really make exempt the idea that we cannot see a sustained break below the 78.6% retracement, because the probabilities would still shift into the favor of a failure if such a structure plays out. So let's talk about the internal structure in this area, because even the most reliable impulse is not a guarantee that a structure will work out. So in this wave 2, we are of course looking for a 3-wave pattern, and I have 2 scenarios in which I am tracking this structure because it allows for such an outcome. And this would be the idea where we would be building instead an initial 5-wave move to the downside. In this pattern, instead of having an ABC structure, which would be ideal, it could still work out into a leading diagonal instead. However, since we have formed such an extended wave 5 within this idea, I do start to have strong doubts about this interpretation, and while I will still be tracking relevant levels of resistance for a potential wave B, I would probably lean more towards the other interpretations. So here we would consider the wave A to have potentially bottomed, of course, even this can extend with no issues, and then the wave B would be expected to push into the resistance area between $10.7 up to $19. As long as we do not get a sustained break beyond the 78.6% retracement, there still remains pressure to extend to lower prices even within this idea of a 5-wave pattern. But let's move to the 3-wave interpretation, which once again I find more favorable given that within this structure we got quite a nice extension, a stronger than ideal typically within a wave 5. So here primarily we have been focusing on the idea of an ABC structure, where in the wave C we would expect to build a 5-wave pattern, of course. Within this 5-wave structure we would likely require an additional low. Now there is the possibility that the wave 3 had actually bottomed either here or here. Yeah, we could consider this to have been the wave 4, and the wave 5 could actually have a bottom at this point. But I cannot rule out the possibility of having this entire structure as part of the wave 3 still, so I would need to consider something like a wave 4 to potentially still be a threat. I would need to watch out for the resistance levels up to the 61.8% retracement at $9.9, And considering we have even gotten rejected here at $7.4, the first level of resistance, I believe it is interesting to track this overall resistance zone. Now, before we move into the smaller time frame and discuss what else we could be tracking there, I do want to highlight that this structure isn't required to be an ABC pattern. The reason I am tracking this as an ABC pattern is because I want to see the resistance levels broken that would indicate we would no longer see even further extensions to lower prices within what would turn into a wave C. Because at this point I could overall track this as a WXY pattern. It could work out, which would allow me to consider another scenario where a bottom could be in place. Overall, the count within this structure is not going to be enough to provide us evidence that the price will develop in one direction or the other. Instead, we focus on the levels of support and the levels of resistance. Yeah, because again, within the WXY pattern, within the wave Y, we would only need to build an ABC pattern itself, which is something that is certainly capable of being tracked. Now, regardless of the internal count within this structure, we have the larger resistance area. Ultimately, I would still need to see this level of resistance broken for an indication that the structure is significantly less likely to actually extend to even lower prices, and of course, I need a sustained break above this level of resistance. Now, we move within the smaller time frame, where at this point, I cannot rule out even the possibility of extensions within this wave 3 itself, right? We could be tracking within the area of an ending diagonal in this wave C, something like an ABC structure within the wave 3, where in this case, the wave C would be expected to extend even a bit further, including internal levels of resistance we would need to track for such a scenario. So, we have here a 1, 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. At this point, I would find it likely, preferred, let's say, that the wave 3 has a bottom in place. And let's track this within green, I suppose. We would have here a resistance area, once again, up to the 61.8% retracement. In this case, around $7.9 that we would need to see a break above for a signal that this wave 3 itself is likely not going to extend even lower. And what I would extract from all this data we have on this chart is that at this point, looking for the perfect count will not necessarily be that meaningful, as there are multiple options that are pretty close in probabilities in my opinion. If we want to have the most clear outlook, I believe focusing on the levels of resistance in yellow and in green is most important. Then in terms of support, focusing still on the same support zone we provided ever since we topped within this wave 1 is still what I would do. In terms of risk-reward ratios, we are within an extremely favorable region, and for some people, it might make sense to look for positions only based on that. And we do have the initial 5-wave move to the upside to give us a boost in confidence. We do have a 3-wave pattern that seems more likely to be playing out to the downside, and we had a very nice reaction to our overall support zone, where we did form the reversal. We did start the reversal to the upside, and now it is time to see if it managed to build a more reliable pattern within the smaller time frame. And unfortunately, we are not looking at a reliable pattern by any means. The best thing that I could consider is for this to be something along the lines of a leading diagonal. And we have a couple of options for this interpretation. I could track this to be a wave 1, we would have here a wave 2, and then the wave 3 would be complete within something like an A, B, C structure. Yeah, we can even add a count for this. And if we manage to build here a wave 5, it would be our early signal that indeed a bottom may be taking place. And we would get our first confirmation that we would be looking for at least another extension. So, the levels of support I would track internally within such a structure would be down to the 61.8% retracement. At $6.75, we seem to have pushed perfectly into this region of support before starting this reversal. And yes, if we build here something like an A, B, C structure, it would seem a decently promising opportunity given that it is within a very small time frame, at least for a larger A, B, C pattern, if not something potentially even more bullish. Ultimately, what I said previously still stands. We are still deep within the area of support, and building this initial 5-way move to the upside wouldn't necessarily provide a better opportunity than the current prices we are at in most cases, but it would provide some confirmation that a bottom has indeed been struck. And for now, there really isn't much else to add. These are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoy our content and want to support us directly, check out our channel membership. And as a thank you for any of these actions, I would like to invite you to sign up to our channel newsletter, where you get access to our monthly top picks, where we identify for you high quality structures. Other than that, let me know what else you'd like me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I wish you a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.